Check out what we just bought. This is one bike I have never owned before. This is a very clean 1995 Honda Cr250. Brand new plastics, brand new seat cover, looks like painted frame, brand new tires. Thing is pretty clean. So the only issue is that it's boggy. The seller said it runs and drives, but is very boggy and does not hit mid-range power at all. He said it instantly bogs out. So today we're gonna try to figure out that problem. He said he thinks it's jetting, but he's not for sure. I ended up paying $2,000 for this bike. It was up for $25,000 and the seller said firm on price. I messaged the guy and said, would you take $2,000? And he messaged back saying, yep, I'm sick of the bike, can't figure out the problem. $2,000, it's yours. So I went and grabbed it for $2,000. Before I went and bought it, he did disclose that there's a little bit of JB weld on the engine here. Unfortunately, you can see right through there. Just a little bit of JB weld on there. And it looks like it might be just covering up a crack of some sort. Or maybe a hole in the case, I'm not sure. It doesn't look like it leaks a whole lot from there, so maybe the patch will hold, but we will see. The rest of the engine looks amazing. No cracks underneath here. All the gaskets are new. I don't know if it was rebuilt recently. We'll have to test compression and check that out, but overall, I mean, for $2,000, I don't think we did too bad. If we can fix it, of course. But I have not heard this bike start up yet, so we'll fire it up, hear what it sounds like, and then kind of diagnose it from there. So let's get this thing off the truck, start digging into it, see what we find. Alright, little walk around here. Pretty clean. Couple dents in the pipe here, which I think you can buy a new pipe for it for a couple $100. So if this thing had a FMF pipe, brand new, that'd look really nice. We might just do that. See if the brakes work. Yep, brakes work. Front brake worked. Got the temp gauge on the radiator. That's nice. Fork seals don't appear to be leaking. Frame rails look good. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Alright, let's try firing up this bike and see what it sounds like here. So choke on, gas on. Let's see if the gas leaks out of the carb. Looks like it holds. Choke on. We'll see what happens here. Well, it looks like we can add hard starting to the list of problems. We're going to add a little premix to the spark plug hole. See if it pops off. Well, it helps to have the kill switch on. Fired right up when I switched the kill switch. You can hear it's a little boggy. So he said mid-range is horrible. See that? Alright, we got the bike in the garage. Let's go over the whole bike and make sure it's not something simple that's causing this bogging issue. It could be something as simple as water in the fuel, bad spark plug not sparking, at high RPMs, bad air filter, and could be blown head gasket. The list goes on and on. So let's check everything over before we take it to the land and test drive it. And we'll bring our jet kit along and try rejetting this thing too if we don't find any problems with it. There's an air filter in there. Doesn't look too dirty. Looks pretty good. Take that out. Just make sure there's no restrictions in the air filter causing bogging issues. That's what that air filter looks like. Not too bad. It is oiled up, so we can reinstall that. That looks fine. In the future, we'll probably clean this out a little bit better, but for testing purposes, that's definitely not the cause of the bogging problem. Let's take a look at the gas. We'll make sure there's no water in it. We want to make sure there's good gas flow coming from the petcock here. Nice gas lines. Alright, let's see. Yep, good flow. Coming out really fast. We'll fill this up all the way so we can see if there's water in it. Alright, that's good. Now with water, you're going to be able to see separation of water, gas, and oil. And we're not seeing anything. So I don't think there's water in the premix, and it looks like it's mixed to the right color. You can kind of tell how much oil was put in. I'm guessing it was mixed 40 to 1, 32 to 1, something like that, but that looks pretty good to me. So we're going to leave the fuel alone. I don't think that's the cause of the bogging. There's a whole lot of gas in there. Alright, radiator fins are bent in some spots. Look for the wiring on the CDI. Those are all plugged in. Coil wire grounded out. We'll have to make sure that wire is making a good ground to the frame. That could also be an issue if we're not getting good spark, because the frame was painted. And yeah, everything looks pretty good. Alright, let's take a look at that spark plug, see what that looks like. I'm guessing it's really black. BR8 ES plug, so it's the correct plug. Doesn't look that new, so it could just be like a fold plug as well. It's actually pretty brown. dark brown, but it's brown. Huh. Interesting. Plug's pretty wet though, and you can see the excess fuel right there coming out. All right, let's see what that spark looks like. Turn it to on, that would help. Nice blue spark. Looks pretty good. Pretty consistent. So let's just inspect around the head here. A lot of times if there's a blown head gasket, you'll see coolant dripping from the head. I'm not seeing anything dripping down from the head. It looks very dry. Looks nice and clean. And then let's check up by the radiator. You can see some coolant pooling here. So something was leaking past this cap here. You can see it pooling. So hopefully we don't have a blown head gasket. With a blown head gasket, that can pressurize the radiators and blow coolant out. So we'll have to check that. If it's lower compression, we'll have to check for that blown head gasket. But you can see it turns over really smooth. I don't hear any rod knock or anything. Super smooth. All right, we've got our spark plug tester here. So sometimes with the full plug, they'll spark at lower RPM, but not at higher RPM. So in our case, you know, it's revving good, that quarter throttle, but once you get past that, it seems like it won't rev out completely. And the plug could be missing at those higher RPMs, like 3,000 to 4,000 RPMs, and be fine right around 2. Turn this on. All right, so we're at 2,000 RPMs right now. And you can see sparking pretty consistently. We'll slowly increase the RPM. And maybe this will be better with the lights off. It's pretty consistent at 3,000. There's 4,200. $54, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 RPM. All right, brand new plug going in, just for comparison. Let's see what this one looks like. You can see both of them kind of jump around a little bit, so that's pretty common. So it looks very similar to the brand new plug. So I think our plug is good. I don't think that's the issue. All right, time for a compression test. So for a Cr250, you want right around 180 pounds of compression. Anything below 150, it's time for a rebuild. You're in like the 125 range then, if you're at 150. So, you know, if you're even 160, that's pretty low. We'd like to be above 160 for sure. This compression tester in, maybe that's our problem. All right, we're gonna do throttle open. So we're looking close to 200. We want it right about there. Alright, throttle open, see what we get. Alright, so not too bad. About 170 psi. So we wanted above 160. 170 is not bad. 180 would be like a fresh rebuild. So that is not bad at all. I don't think it's compression. Alright, let's get this carb out and see what's going on with the carb. See what jets are in there. Could be the reeds as well. Check those. Alright, this carb looks pretty easy to take out. Should come out right through here. There we go. Take that clamp off. Let's see. Slide's working good. See if that needle has any play in it. Nope. Sometimes what can happen is these needles have play and they bounce up and down in the carb. That looks good. We'll have to see what clip position the needle's at as well. So, let's start digging into it. Alright, let's see if there's any gas in here. Going all over the place. Definitely getting plenty of gas. Doesn't look like there's any water in there. That all looks good. Carb is pretty spotless, so I'm sure the seller cleaned this multiple times trying to get this thing to not bog. But yeah, that looks pretty good. Alright, float. We'll have to measure the float height. Alright, float coming out. Check their needle. That looks good. Seat looks good. Let's get our main jet out. See what we're running for main jet here. Alright, let's see. 175 for the main. So we want to be running a stock main. Let's see what the pilot jet's at. I think the pilot jet's fine. I feel like the main might be off a little bit. Alright, 52 for the pilot. See if that's clear. Yep, pilot's clear. Alright, then we've got the air screw on the side here. Oh, that was only a quarter turn out. Wow, room. Let's see what that looks like. Looks good, but yeah, only a quarter turn out. Typically, you want to be 1.5 turns out. Take the choke off. Choke looks good. Looks like our idle's up all the way. That looks good. Alright, we're going to quick clean this out and then we'll check what jets are supposed to be in here. Alright, before we take a look at the jets, let's make sure this is a 1995. So up here, it looks like they painted over the VIN, but it's still visible. So if you count 10 digits, JH 2ME0G G6S. So that's the 10th digit. That matches up with 1995, so we are good to go. We can jet this based on a 1995 model. And we're assuming this has the stock cylinder, stock head, nothing done with porting, and that the pipe is stock, which I know it is based on the look of it, and silencer is stock. So it looks like stock jetting for a 1995 on the Cr250 is going to be 175 for the main, which we have in there. You can see that's 175 on there, and 55 for the pilot. So right now we have a 52. So the air screw was turned in so far, allowing more fuel in because the pilot was a little bit small. So the air screw was further in, which means that it's allowing less air in and more fuel in. So that means that they were compensating for a smaller pilot. So we need to actually up the pilot to a 55, and then we can probably turn the air screw out more, allowing more air in because we're getting more fuel with the pilot. So we'll add a 55 pilot, and we're going to keep the main jet the same until we can test this out on the land and really rip it. I want to see what it sounds like. We might have to go a tad leaner, but we'll see once we get out there and test this thing out. So float height for the 1995 Cr250 is going to be 16 millimeters. And where you want to test it, or measure it I should say, is from the top of the float right here to the bottom of the carb right here where that gasket sits. So you want that distance to be 16 millimeters. And you want to hold the carb at a 45-degree angle. You don't want to compress that pin in the needle. You just want the float to kind of rest on the needle without compressing it too much. It's like right there. And we're going to measure. We're at 16. And you can see it needs to come up about a millimeter. It's really close. And on the forums it said that this line right here on the float will be parallel to this line. And right now you can see it dips a little bit lower. So right about here would be parallel. So it's just about a millimeter too low. So what we can do to make that raise up is push down the tab just a hair right here. So now it'll sit just a little bit higher up. That's just about perfect right there. Alright, let's check out that needle clip position here. See where that's at. Alright, we got our spring on there. So you just push down, spin. That should pop off of there. Just like that. And then our needle will come out. And you can see we're at the second position from the top. So right now it's running pretty lean. So the further you put the clip up on the needle, drops the needle further down into that jet, allowing less fuel to flow through. The lower down you put the needle, raises the needle up, allowing more fuel to flow through. So to lean it out, you want the needle clip position up. To richen it, you want the needle clip position down. It's kind of counterintuitive in how you think about it, but it makes sense. So we're going to leave it like that, but now we know what setting it's at, so we can kind of adjust that based on how this bike runs. So we'll get that back in there. And we'll put everything back the same way it was, and then we'll jet it like that based on how it runs, like I said before. So let's get this back on and get the car back on, and we're gonna check the reeds next, because it definitely could be the reeds causing issues. So far everything on this bike checks out pretty good. I mean, the float height was only off a millimeter. That's that's pretty good. Jetting was stock, spot on, except for the pilot, which, I mean, this can idle perfectly, so yeah, I don't know. So far we can't find out what the culprit is. Alright, see what these look like. Don't want to rip that gasket. Of course, the reeds look perfect. Zero space in between there. Yeah, those are really nice. So those check out. That's not the problem. Alright, we went ahead and checked all the vent lines. Those are all clear and open. They're brand new. The manifold, no cracks in the manifold at all, so it's not sucking in air through there. So far everything is good. Yeah, this one's still a mystery. Alright, another thing I want to quick check before we take it for the first ride is the ignition timing plate. So I'm going to make sure that lines up with the groove in the case. Make sure that's spot on. Sometimes that plate can come loose and move a little bit, and that could cause bogging as well. So let's get this cover off. So right away we can tell that there's no oil or gas seeping past that seal, that crank seal. So it's all dry in there. That looks really good. Let's see where that plate lines up here. Yep, so there's actually, you can see a little arrow down there. Let me get my flashlight. So if you guys look down here, you can see there's a line, and down in the case there's like a little arrow. You can see those two are perfectly lined up. So ignition timing should be perfect. So that's not the problem either. We can also check the crank bearings. That's an easy way to check. It's just pull up and down on the flywheel. See, there's no slop in there whatsoever. So bearings are at least solid in there. See, there's no play in that flywheel. No slop at all. Let's make sure it goes through all the gears here. There's first, neutral, second, third, fourth, fifth. So we want to make sure that the oil's not milky. little dipstick. See what that looks like. Oh, there, it looks like a new clutch in here. It's a black clutch. Alright, oil looks clear. Let's see if there's enough in there. Right here is the oil check bolt. We've got this thing on a level surface, so oil should be pouring out of there when we take that out. If not, oil is too low. Let's see. Crack that loose. Yep, see it's dripping out. So perfect amount of oil in there. Literally everything on this bike is almost perfect. It's really strange that it has a bog. Alright, oil checks out. So we went over the whole bike. Everything checks out. So we're gonna go attempt to ride this thing and see how bad that bog is. And we're gonna probably bring the jet kit along, try to rejet it. We'll bring a couple spark plugs along, try those, and see if we can make this thing not bog. That is the goal. All right, we mixed up some 481. All right, made it up to the land. Let's test drive this thing. See how bad that bog is. Alright, the seller wasn't kidding. This thing has a pretty bad mid and upper range bog to it. You can kind of hear it like breaking up, and it almost sounds lean to me. I don't know, it sounds weird. Sounds really weird. Sounds like a forward plug to me. It's fine the first quarter throttle, and then just horrible after that. It like wants to clear out, you can hear it, but it just won't clear out. It's very interesting. So what we're gonna do is put a brand new plug in and kind of do like a plug chop. So we'll see what color that plug is after a couple rides. And what you're supposed to do for a plug chop is ride it at full speed and then shut down the bike, and it'll give you that nice color. All right, let's get this plug out of here. We're gonna try to take it off without taking off the gas tank here. See if this plug is really wet. Alright, it's not wet at all. You can see. So it might be running lean. Alright, got a brand new plug here. Let's put that in. See what happens. Alright, still really boggy with that brand new plug. Let's see what that plug color looks like. We did the plug chop on it. So we went about full speed and shut down the machine. So we'll see if it's colored here. Man, it kind of sounds lean to me. I don't know. Ah, it looks pretty good. It's getting to be pretty brown. It's lean on this side, but See, it's turning pretty brown. So right now, the needle clip position is second from the top. So right now it is already pretty lean. We can try making it completely lean and go into the last notch there. Or we can try making it richer. So right now it's pretty lean. Let's go richer with it. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is move that clip position down. Make this thing richer. If it gets worse, we obviously know it's too rich and we need to lean it out. I think we can just twist this in here. And the key to tuning a carb is doing one change at a time. Otherwise you don't know what change fixed your problem. Alright, so you can see the clip position, second from the top. We're going to change that to, let's go second from the bottom. So now that's making it a lot richer. So that needle is raising up in that jet and allowing more fuel to come in. So let's put this back in, see if that makes a difference here. Alright, changing that needle clip position to make it richer really didn't have any effect on it. So it's still sounding the same. So I'm thinking it might be the main jet. So we're going to try tinkering with the main jet a bit. And I think what we're going to do is go richer first, and then we'll try to go leaner. So we're looking for like a 180. And then if that doesn't work, we'll go to like a 165. See what happens. Alright, take that off, we can get the new main jet in there. It's gonna get gas all over the place. this main jet out. These are 1/4 inch jets. So this one is a 175. Let's go up to a 180, see if that makes a difference. Alright, here's a 180. Let's get that in there. Alright, upping the main to a 180 I think made it even worse. So we're going to go the opposite direction and go down to a 170. See if that makes it better. Alright, we found a 168 main. We're going to throw in there. Close enough to 170. So right now we've got 180. We're changing that out to a 168. See if it gets better or worse. Alright, so going to the 168 definitely helped. Still not perfect, but getting a little bit closer to revving out completely. So we're going to drop down to like a 165 and see what that does. I think we're heading in the right direction. I think we're a tad rich on the main. So we're going to keep on going down with the main until that clears out, and then we might hop on the needle and fix that. But so far, I think going down with the main is the way to go. Alright, we took the 168 out, and now we're running a 162. Just to see. Alright, I've spent the last 4 hours trying to play with these jets. I've gone all the way from a 175 up to a 185. That definitely gets worse as you go up in jetting. And I've gone from 175 and I've jumped 2 jets down all the way to a 155. And it seems like the 155 is probably running the best, which doesn't make sense because stock is 175. So I don't know if it's sucking in air from somewhere. It shouldn't be, which it could be the crank seal here could be shot. I didn't see any pooling of oil or gas underneath that cover, so I don't think it's that. Or it could be something like the power valve's not opening at the right time. You know, it's breaking up at that top end still, and you guys can hear it in the video. It's like pop, 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 and all of a sudden it'll clear out for a little bit, but then go back to the popping. So if anyone has any suggestions in the comments, let me know. Right now it sounds like it's running lean, but it's running better than when I had the 175 in there. So it's like, what do? Something's got to be throwing off the jets, is all I'm thinking. I've tried 3 different plugs, no change. I've tried 40-to-1 mix, brand new fuel. Had to go get more fuel because we went through a whole gas testing this thing out, and no change. So this one is tricky. We might have to tear it down and redo the whole thing, because I am stumped. Alright, we just got home. I played around with the jets, the clip position a little bit more, and no matter what combination I use, I cannot get this thing to run right. It seems like the lower you go on the main, the better it gets, but I was down to 130 and it was pretty much doing the same thing. And I'm like, I'm not riding it at 130. So it's really weird that changing the main jet doesn't really affect it that much. Yeah, it's very strange. So I think next video what we're gonna do is tear down the whole thing and see what's going on. I'm thinking maybe the crank seals are going, and the one on this side maybe is sucking in oil, and the one on the other side sucking in air, and it's messing up the carb jetting. That's really all I can think of. Or the power valves aren't opening at all and causing issues. I don't know. This one stumped me. I've never had this issue before in a bike. Whenever I had popping on the top end, usually it would just be lean needle position, and you just lower the clip 1 notch and it would fix the problem. But with this bike, you can change that clip all day, any position, and it won't do anything. So it's really, really weird. So if anyone has suggestions on what you guys think is wrong, leave them in the comments. But we'll have to try to figure out next video what's going on, because this video is already getting too long. It's getting late. I've been working on this bike for like 12 hours straight. I just can't figure it out. So we're giving up for today, and we'll work on it tomorrow. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video, and until next time, we are out.